I looked in the mirror, saw a stranger. But not the kind that makes you flinch, not the kind that hides behind shame. No, this stranger didn't blink, didn't look away, didn't ask for forgiveness. This stranger stared back with eyes that had seen the truth. Eyes that knew what it meant to be broken and still survive. And that's when it hit me. I wasn't looking at someone I lost. I was looking at someone I had become, not a victim, not a ghost, not a shadow of what they destroyed. I was looking at me for the first time. No more pretending. No more playing their games. No more shrinking to fit into their twisted version. A family, this face, these eyes, this silence wrapped in fury. It was never weakness. It was transformation. They built a monster. But I built a mirror. And guess what? It reflects them. Every cruel word. Every betrayal masked as love. Every silent punishment. Every denied apology. Their fingerprints are all over this skin. But it belongs to me now. Their voices echo in my head, but they no longer command me. You want to know the truth? Pain is my mother, and betrayal is my father. Then I am their perfect child. Raised in silence, trained in shadows, tempered by fire. I learned not to scream. I learned to stare. I learned to wait, because time is the sharpest blade of all. Let them look at me now. Let them ask what I've become. Let them wonder if I still remember what love feels like. I do. I just don't need it from them anymore. See, this mirror doesn't lie. It doesn't flatter. It doesn't comfort. It shows the scars and the hands that made them. It shows the rage and the silence that fueled it. It shows the truth. And the truth is, I was never meant to be like them. I was meant to rise because of them, to burn with everything they tried to bury. So no, I'm not what they wanted. I'm not soft. I'm not obedient. I'm not afraid. I am the consequence. It's the reflection they never wanted to see, because it exposes them. It condemns them. Let them say I changed. Let them say I became cold, distant, brutal. They're right. But not because I lost who I was. It's because I found who I am. And that is something they can never unsee. They thought I'd stay. Buried. That I'd choke on the ashes. That silence would finish what they started. But I was never meant to stay down. I was meant to rise. And from those ashes, I built armor. Not metal, not steel. Something stronger. Something forged in fire they never bothered to feel. Pain was my blueprint. Rage was my hammer. And silence was the steel. I didn't heal. I hardened. I didn't move on. I moved through. I fed my demons one by one. Looked each of them in the eye and made them teach me. I studied my shadows, traced every wound, memorized the rhythm of my ruin until it became music I could. March 2, they gave me nothing. So I built everything brick by brick, cut by cut, flame by flame. I turned every insult into armor, every betrayal into fuel, every you'll never make it into a battle cry. They don't realize what they did. They thought they were breaking me. All they were doing was training me. I learned how to move in silence, how to speak without words, how to smile while I bled, and still make it look like victory. I learned to weaponize my scars, to aim my grief like a rifle, to let the pain sharpen me, not shatter me. Do you know what it means to be underestimated? To be seen as weak? To? Laughed at? Dismissed? Ignored? It means you become invisible. And when you're invisible, you get to work. No one sees the monster you're building. No one notices the storm in your chest until it's too late, until you unleash it. I trained in silence. I trained in shadows. I trained in the echo of all the things they never said to me and all the things they did. I turned abandonment into focus, loneliness into discipline, and heartbreak into hunger. They thought I'd need saving. No, I needed space. Space to evolve, space to transform, space to become something they can't even name anymore. I'm not a victim. I'm not a survivor. I'm a storm. I don't knock on doors. I blow them off their hinges. I don't ask for permission. Take what's mine. I don't chase approval. I devour it. They wanted me obedient, predictable, grateful. But I became something else. Something they can't control. something they can't recognize. They made me cold. They made me focused. They made me dangerous. Let them be afraid. They should be, because I remember everything. Every word. Every silence. Every time they turned their back while I burned. But I don't burn anymore. I blaze. I scorch. I rise. In every step I take now. It echoes with the sound of 1,000 promises I made to myself never again. Never beg, never break, never kneel. Let them talk, let them watch, let them wonder where the weakness went. It didn't disappear, it transformed. So this armor you see, it isn't protection, it's proof. Proof that I endured, proof that I rebuilt, proof that I'm not who I was and never will be again. I didn't heal to be soft. I healed to be untouchable. And now, every scar, every crack, every inch of this soul, it's battle-tested, war-born and ready. I was forged in fire. And now I burn with a fury they'll never control. They wanted control. They wanted obedience. They wanted silence. And for a while, they had it. But not anymore. Because I am what they feared I'd become. I am what they made. I'm not asking for justice. I am the balance. The correction, storm behind the silence. They drained me. I endured. They broke me. I built. They erased me. I returned, and now I don't bleed. I burn the blood they wasted. It didn't die. It boiled. It surged. It reshaped me from the inside out. You think pain weakens? Only if you let it? Me? I bled. Yes, but I bled awake. Every drop that hit the floor was a promise I whispered into the dark. Never again, you see. They thought blood was loyalty. But blood never saved me. Blood didn't hold my hand in the dark. Blood didn't pick me up when I shattered. Silence did. Rage did. I did. Blood was never thicker than betrayal. Blood was never thicker than silence, so now I rewrite the rules. No more begging for love in a room full of knives. No more waiting at locked doors built by people who called me family and treated me like a ghost. They thought they were carving me down. All they did was carve me clear, sharp, precise, unstoppable. So, when they ask what happened, tell them the truth. They created a weapon when all I wanted to be was loved. I don't carry their shame. I don't carry their weakness. I carry fire. I carry fury. I carry the names they called me like badges of war. They drained me. I endured. They broke me. Built. They erased me. I returned. Not the same. Never the same. I walk now with silence in my veins and thunder in my breath. Speak. Only when the words are sharp enough to cut. I don't seek revenge. I am the reminder. I am the echo that never fades. I am the nightmare they birthed in broad daylight. I am not theirs. I never was. They may have shared my blood, but they never deserved my soul. So this is my declaration. I owe them nothing. Not my time. Not my grief. Not my forgiveness. Let them choke on the silence they once gave me. Let them sit in the ruins of what they refused to protect, because I survived in that survival. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't poetic. Every breath I took was a rebellion. Every step forward, a battle cry. I didn't crawl out of the fire. I became it. And now, I don't kneel. I don't ask. I don't bleed. I burn. So let them see what they built when they tried to break me. Let them witness the consequence of their carelessness, because I am no longer seeking peace. I am peace when I choose to be, and I am destruction when they deserve it. This is not a comeback. This is a coronation. I am not what they left behind. I am what they unleashed. They taught me one thing, one lesson that never left my bones. They taught me how to watch someone you love suffer, how to sit in silence while their pain became your air, how to breathe it in, choke on it, and pretend it didn't burn. They taught me how to smile while bleeding, how to stay when every part of me screamed run, how to give until there was nothing left. So now it's my turn to teach. Let them cry. Let them rot. Let them feel what they fed me and called love. Let them taste silence, the kind that slices deeper than screams. Let them sleep in the cold, where warmth used to be. Let them see ghosts in every mirror, Regret in every corner, because I'm done saving them. I'm done breaking for them. I'm done begging for scraps from the ones who are supposed to protect me. I don't want their apologies. I want their silence. I want their discomfort. I want them to wake up and realize they lost something they'll never touch again. Let them bleed. Let them bleed like I did, but louder, longer. Without mercy, I bled quietly. Now they will scream loudly, and I won't flinch. I won't soften. I won't save them. They carved a weapon and called it weakness. They shaped a storm and called it dramatic. They broke a heart and acted like it was an accident. But I remember everything. The nights, the silence. The weight of trying to prove I was worth something to people who never planned to understand me. Let them carry that now. Let the weight fall on their chest. Let their hearts ache the way mine shattered, without warning, without comfort. End. Let them stare at doors that won't open. Let them knock and find no one home. They shared my blood, and let them share my vengeance. They shared my blood, then let them drown in it. They shared my blood, then let them choke on the silence they gave me. They shared my blood, then let them bleed the way I bled, the way I rose, the way I reigned. This is not cruelty, this is clarity. They don't get the old me, don't get the second chance. They don't get to rewrite the ending. I write it. And this time, it ends with me walking away, while they finally feel what it means to be forgotten. They weren't just strangers, they were family. Or, that's what they called themselves. They shared my blood, my name, my face even, but when I needed them most, they vanished. Funny, how blood is supposed to mean loyalty, but in my case, it meant liability. They didn't see a brother, a son, a soul. They saw a vessel, a burden, a punching bag wrapped in familiar DNA. Do you know what it's like? To eat at the same table and still starve for love? To share a roof, but never feel? At home, they say blood is thicker than water, but barbed wire cuts deeper than both. They wore my smile. They carried my name. Yet they left me for dead, not in a grave. That would have been mercy. No, they buried me in silence, mocked me behind closed doors, watched me bleed through invisible wounds, and called it growing up. You ever seen someone slowly drown while the people they love stand on the shore, ... holding life jackets they'll never throw? That was my childhood. That was my family. Their words weren't loud. They echoed like gunshots. You're too sensitive. You're too weak. You're not one of us. Not one of them. I carried their blood. Still, I was the foreigner in my own home. I became fluent in pretending I was okay, pretending their silence didn't burn, pretending their absence didn't echo through every room I entered. They taught me that love was conditional, respect was a currency, and I was always broke. I remember birthdays that felt like funerals, laughter that turned into daggers, smiles with venom tucked behind the teeth. I was not raised, I was endured, and only barely. You want to know what betrayal smells like? It smells like dinner cooked for everyone but you. Sounds like your name? Being left out of every story. Feels like waiting for someone who never arrives. They called it family. I call it a beautifully disguised execution because they didn't kill me with fists. They killed me with neglect, with cold shoulders, with eyes that looked through me like I wasn't even there, and when I screamed for help, they told me to. Stop being dramatic. So I stopped. Stopped asking. Stopped hoping. Stopped bleeding in front of them. They didn't notice. Of course they didn't. People don't notice when ghosts go quiet. They only care when they come back and burn the hole. House down. But here's the thing. They didn't break me. They carved me to something sharper, stronger, colder. And now I carry their blood, but none of their weakness. I wear their name, but none of their shame. They thought they bled me dry. They thought I'd disappear. But instead, I distilled every drop of pain into poison. They built a monster. No, they unleashed one. Because when you take a child, starve him of love, mock his dreams, laugh at his pain, you don't get a man, you get a weapon. And I am fully loaded. And I remember everything. So when they asked ... why did you become this? I'll smile and say, because you made me. They didn't kill me with one blow. No, it was slower, more precise. It was death by 1,000 cuts. Every single one wore a smile. You know the kind of pain that doesn't scream? The one that just lingers. A quiet burn. Under the skin, a bruise no one sees because they never bothered to look. I kept giving, piece by piece, hope by hope, until all that remained was a hollow shell, echoing with the voices of people who only knew how to take. They called it love. I called it slow. Death. They said they cared. But caring doesn't sound like silence. Caring doesn't leave you drowning while they float on the wreckage of your effort. I used to think I was the problem. It's too much, too little, too emotional. To me, but I wasn't. The problem, they were just too shallow to hold anything real. They drained me like I was infinite. Lit their worlds with my fire, then blamed me when I turned to ash dot, and when I finally had nothing left. No smile, no strength, no voice. That's when they walked away. Not out of guilt, not out of regret, but because I was no longer useful. Do you know what that does to a soul? To be reduced to a function? To be nothing more than a tool until you break? They took my kindness and twisted it into weakness. They took my silence and wore it like a crown. They took me and turned me into something unrecognizable. But here's the part they'll never admit. They knew what they were doing. Every smile that hit a blade, every hug that felt like a cage, every moment I screamed inside, and they called it drama. They didn't want to heal me. They wanted to own me, and I let them. I let them because I believed in love, because I believed in family, because I believed in them. But belief is a dangerous thing when it's given to the wrong hands. They made me feel invisible. While still taking everything that made me shine, they called it love. I called it slow death. I remember nights where my thoughts were louder than the silence, where I begged whatever God was listening to make the pain stop or make me stop. But I didn't stop. And that's the part that scares them, because now I see the truth. I was never invisible. I just chose not to see. I was never weak. I just feared what I'd become if I ever stood alone. They thought I'd stay broken. They thought silence would be my grave. But it became my weapon. I learned to breathe in loneliness, to feast in hunger, to sharpen my pain into precision. And now every scar they left on me, it speaks. Not in pain, but in power. They taught me everything I needed to rise, just not the way they imagined. So the next time someone tells you they love you, listen closely, not to their words, but to the way they treat you when you're empty. Because the ones who bled me dry did it with clean hands and hollow hearts. They called it love. I call it war. There's a moment, a quiet, vicious moment, where the begging stops, where the heart doesn't just break, it hardens. You stop asking, why me, and start whispering, never again. That moment, it's not loud. It doesn't come with lightning or screams. It arrives in silence, the kind that chokes you, kind that buries everything soft and leaves only iron behind. It was the last time I reached out and got burned. The final time I trusted hands that only ever came close to push me off the edge. I remember it clearly, not because of what they did, but because of what I became. I wasn't crying anymore. I wasn't hoping. I wasn't trying to make them understand, because the fool in me, he died that day. And we don't cry for the dead. We bury them. We leave them behind. And we become something else. I looked in the mirror not for answers, but for something to destroy. And all I saw staring back was a ghost of a child who used to believe. Believe in people. Believe in fairness. Believe that loyalty meant something. But belief doesn't survive betrayal. It burns. And what rose from that fire wasn't a man. It wasn't human. It was storm. It was rage. It was the aftermath of everything they shattered. They wanted me soft, obedient, grateful for. Scraps, they wanted me to kneel even as they cut deeper. Even as the blood ran and they smiled. But here's the truth. Pain teaches. And I studied every wound, memorized every scar. I built a new law inside my bones. Never again. You see, anger is not the enemy. It's the language of the broken, the roar of the unheard, the sword of the betrayed. And once I let it in, once I stopped pretending to be good, to be kind, to be loved, I finally became free. I stopped chasing ghosts, stopped begging liars to tell me the truth, stopped bleeding for people who never planned to stop cutting. Let them call it a switch. Let them call it a breakdown, but for me, it was rebirth. The thunder they feared. It's been in my chest for years. The wildfire they tried to smother. It was just waiting for a spark. And that spark was the moment I realized I owe them nothing. Not love, not forgiveness, not even hate. I owe myself the world they tried to steal. They will never know. Me again. Because the fool they knew, he's gone. And what's left? What's standing now is the consequence. I am not their victim. I am their reckoning, their lesson, their echo. So when they whisper about what happened to me, let them wonder. Let them lie, let them tremble. But one truth will remain. The fool died that day, and from his grave, I rose.